Well, hello everyone. My name is Miriam, and this is the woman at the well. We've just had a power cut, and the lights have only just come back on. But you can see some candles around my little altar here, and we have. I'm just back from Medjugorje, so I have some nice pictures and books featuring Our Lady there. That I've added to my existing little altar beside my desk here. A friend of mine has asked me to talk a little bit about confession and the best way to approach it. And I can understand why this is a little bit confusing for people today, because particularly if you're sourcing information about your faith through social media and the internet, you'll find all kinds of things flooding your phone about how best to prepare. And I always look at the older priests for guidance when it comes to this and what they do. I watch what they do and what they say, listen to what they say. And for them, it is very important that you simply present yourself and be honest. Honesty and truthfulness in the confessional. That's what it boils down to. Now, for most of us who've been raised Catholics, we will understand that, you've got categories of sin. You've got venial sin, and you've got grave sin, and of course mortal sin, and we will understand. We will already have a feel for what is more serious, what sins are more serious than others. But I do find that some of the guidelines that you see, particularly coming out of the United States, can set people on the wrong track. It can become a box ticking exercise. Where most of those guidelines, they're simply there to help you order your thoughts. But when it comes to sin, it's not about thoughts, it's about your heart. So when you've done wrong. I mean, the majority of people will be aware of when they've done wrong. So it is taking that awareness and bringing it honestly and truthfully before the priest. Go to an experienced priest. I'm not saying don't go to a younger priest, but very often if you've got a lot to offload, for example, if you haven't been to confession in a long, long time, I would go to someone who's been in the game a long time, who's listened to a lot of confessions, who is experienced and finely tuned in how to deal with men and women of all ages who have been away from the faith and who know, these priests know how to help you. The thing they want is for you to present yourself and to speak honestly to them and to just say to them, look, I want to be here. I want to go to confession. I want to come back, but I don't know how to do this. They know how to walk you through this. Now, I know there are some traditionalist priests who perhaps don't think along that line, but they don't tend to be this side of the world. They tend to be in other areas, other countries. It can be a little bit of a shock. I know when I first migrated from Ireland to France, I was really, really surprised at how conservative the priests were, the young priests in particular, back in the 80s. It was a real eye-opener. So you will get little differences in different countries. But by and large, priests, when they reach a certain stage in their lives, regardless of what nationality they are, they've got the message. They know how to do this now. And I think Medjugorje is a really good example of where you see that in operation, because you have priests from all over the world, different nationalities. They all tend to be in certain age brackets. I'm not saying there aren't young ones there. There are, of course. But the ones that line up for, in the blazing sun for hours are the ones who have been around a long time, and they know they're going to be needed, and they give their services. And I ask Our Lady, and this is a piece of advice that I would give, ask Our Lady to guide you to the right person. But if you live in a city and there are a number of priests you can go to in a particular church, ask her to guide you to the right one. Let her do it. With regard to preparing for confession, just speak from your heart. Yes, you can, absolutely, you can download, you only have to Google it, how to prepare for confession, and you'll see loads and loads of lists. The problem with that is that it can scare people off. So if you are someone who hasn't been to confession in a while, I would simply say, just go and present yourself and say, Father, I haven't been to confession in a long time. I don't know where to start. Can you help me? And you can be guaranteed help. They know how to do this. They are very well formed. This is something that is not only in the seminary, it is a lot of emphasis placed on this, but they are their entire lives doing this. They know how to deal with people. I would also say that the priest doesn't need you to be very formulaic in the confessional, because what happens then, this is slipping on me, excuse me. What happens then is that people tend not to go deep into the sin they're confessing. They tend not to actually present the hurt that sin has caused, and that is an indication of the level of contrition that you feel. So to ream off just a load of sins like I did this, I did that, I did number 4, I did number 5. It's not a Chinese takeaway, where you're just saying I love number 4, I love number 5, and maybe number 9. You're not playing numbers here. This is confession. You are facing the Lord, and you wouldn't sit down with the Lord and say, I did that sin, I did this sin, and I did that sin. You'd open up your heart and you would say, Lord, I am so sorry for having treated such a person the way I did, for having felt anger towards my neighbour, for having had an affair with someone, for having perhaps had unclean thoughts about somebody. You would have to have a level of sincerity and honesty and contrition. It is not a box ticking exercise. So I think for me, the best piece of advice I could give you is, yes, have a glance at some of those checklist type sheets. I've seen loads of them, but they to me, they steer a person away. They, for someone who's been in the faith a long time, they can have a look at them and take them at face value and just perhaps get something out of them, but I don't find them very useful. I do know this, that the priests that I have, worked with and gone to confession to throughout my life, they want you to present yourself honestly, truthfully, with whatever sins it is you want to talk about. And they are then able to give you the most extraordinary, purifying, forgiving experience of having absolution. They can lay their hands sometimes on your head, which is what happens in Medjugorje, and I love to see that. I've had that happen, where they lay their hands on your head, and it is the most beautiful experience to have absolution in that way. But even if they don't, absolution being given in the sign of the cross, listening to those words, you are as clean as the day you were baptized. You walk out that door and you feel so uplifted. And in Medjugorje, to see men and women coming away in tears and straight into the Church of St. James, down on their knees and not caring about who's around or who saw them cry. Everybody in that church is there for the same reason. They've all come for the same reason, and it's an extraordinary experience to find yourself that freed up. But do say your penance. The penance that the priest gives will also take into consideration mitigating circumstances. Now, you might feel sometimes, the priest that didn't give me a strong enough penance, the priest will have weighed up how much suffering you've already gone through. This is why I'm saying it's important to show that you are contrite. And if you are just saying, I committed 3 venial sins on Friday and 7 on the weekend, that tells the priest nothing. And yet there are some out there who are trained to think that way. But thankfully it's not really in this part of the world where I am. I'm in Ireland. We don't really do it that way. So that's what I would advise you to do. Find someone who's experienced. Go in with an open heart. Be absolutely honest with the priest. Ask for help. Say, I want to come back. I want to return. And can you guide me through this? And, you know, every time you go to confession, even if you're an experienced person, you know you need the grace. And you can literally just say, look, I know it's time for me to go to confession. I just can't bring my sins to mind at the moment, but I know I need the grace for this week. This is a very important point. When you receive the sacrament of reconciliation and the absolution that goes with it, you are given graces in that moment. And you want them, you need them. And when you are back in the faith, by golly, do you know you need them. So just be honest with the priest and say, look, can you just walk me through this? Because I can't really think of anything, but I do need to go to confession today. I need the grace. And I know I've sinned. And they know exactly where to begin, okay? And they like that kind of honesty. So I hope that helps. Don't panic, in other words. Just go. Just go. Just go to confession. And be absolutely truthful and honest with the priest. No matter what your state is when you walk through that door. Just say, I want to be here. I want to go to confession. But I need a little bit of help from you. They know how to do this. The young ones, the newly ordained ones, are very fresh in how to do it because they've straight out of seminary, they know what to do. But your more experienced priest will be even better. So I would try and do that if I were you. Try and find someone who is known for being gentle, pastoral, and supportive. So there you are. That's my advice, and I hope that it helps. So God bless you. And I hope you like my images of Our Lady there, particularly like this one here, this particular image of her, which I brought back from Medjugorje. And, you know, remember that the rosary protects you too. I'll probably do something on the rosary next. Okay, everybody, and have a very nice night, and I hope you don't have storms like we had tonight. God bless you. And this is the woman at the well tuning out. Bye-bye.